Last year, I had a lot of trouble with being consistent with my exercise and piano practice. This year, however, I haven't missed a day of training for over 7 months now. I think that a lack of consistency is something that keeps a lot of us from reaching our potential. So in this video, I want to give you my 5 best tips on how I managed to improve my consistency. Tip number 1, having your tabs always open. This might seem like a very silly tip, but I attribute a lot of my success in being consistent with journaling and exercise to this one tip. All I do is have 4 main tabs open: YouTube Music, my journal, my organizer, and the training program I'm following. I use my laptop every day, so I'm always reminded to write in my journal, check out my organizer to make sure I'm on track to complete my projects, and whenever I need to exercise, I just play music. I also have my planner always open on my laptop as well. Basically, this tip can be summed up as whatever you want to do consistently, find a way to always have a trigger in front of you every day. And in my opinion, the easiest way to do that if you're on the computer every day is to have set tabs always open. This is not something I did last year, and now I can't imagine not doing it. Tip number 2, morning time is the best time. Before this year, I would work at my part-time job from the early morning to early afternoon. Luckily, I was able to get that changed to a later time in the morning to late afternoon. This made a huge difference on my consistency with exercise. It gave me more time to run outside and to always follow the training program without fail because it's the first thing I do every day. I know work hours isn't something that is easily controlled, but I do think that one of the best ways to be consistent with something is to make sure it's the first thing you do when you wake up. Without that change, I honestly think I probably would have missed a training day because of tiredness from work or something like that. Tip number 3, weekly quotas. I've never actually revealed my organizer before, so it's the first time you guys get a small inside look. It changes nearly every year and just changed recently as well. To anyone that's not me, you'll probably be overwhelmed because you're not used to reading it. But in some of these rows, you can see that I write out something like training 0 out of 5 or practice 0 out of 4. That just means that I have to engage in that routine that many times during the week. For piano, that's every day for one type of practice, and for physical activities, I have a spread of different things. I started doing this only this year, and I find that whenever I have something that's 0 out of 5 or 1 out of 5 near the end of the week, I begin to get stressed, and it forces me to really try hard during the weekend to make up for it and make it at least something like 3 out of 5. Of course, ideally, it's 5 out of 5 every week, like I do with training, but training has the advantage of being in the morning, uninterrupted, so not everything can be as perfect as that. But having some sort of visible marking I can see as my progress for the week just helps me a lot with staying consistent. At the end of the week, I write about how I did for each section as well. A lot of these things will be talked about in further detail as I will eventually release a course about my entire organizer system in the future. Tip number 4, following a program. Interestingly enough, I've never actually followed an exercise program until I started in November of last year. I've always sort of tried to create my own routines. But by following a program, I had the advantage of an expert guiding me, telling me which days I should rest and which exercises I should do on which training days. That alleviates so much brain power and lets me use the saved up energy to focus on just performing. Just following a set of instructions and a path laid out for you can be very beneficial if the end result is what you want. It also makes it very easy to stay consistent compared to struggling to create your own roadmap and not knowing if it's actually helping you get to where you want to be. Tip number 5, habit stacking. So for this tip, I've technically done it before, but not in the way I have it now. Habit stacking is essentially just forming a habit around something you know you do every day. Back then, I would stretch while brushing my teeth and journal afterwards. Now, I journal during the rest times between exercises in the training program, and I also check my organizer during the rest times. This allows me to be extremely consistent with always keeping up with my journal and organizer. And this tip works well with a lot of the other tips. For instance, tip number 3, with the weekly quotas, it only works because it's one of the tabs that I always have open, which is tip number 1. Otherwise, it would become easy to forget about. And because I do it along with the first thing I do in the morning, it has the advantage of tip number 2 as well. I also try to practice piano right afterwards if I can. I notice if I take a break to eat something in between, I end up feeling sluggish and my practice generally doesn't go as well. So by combining a lot of these things, I found something that really worked for me. exercising while journaling and organizing, and then practicing a skill afterwards. It's sort of the wombo combo that I needed to become a lot more consistent. I didn't immediately do it like that, it sort of just formed around training more consistently. And that's sort of a big lesson I learned as well. If you can do one thing consistently, it makes it a whole lot easier to do other things consistently as well, just because you use less mental resources to force yourself to do something you're not used to often. Anyways, those were the 5 tips I have for you guys based on my own experience with becoming more consistent with exercise and practice this year. If you found any of it helpful, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing. Let me know if you have any additional tips that really helped you with being consistent in the comments below. And if you happen to like piano music, consider checking out my piano channel I created recently. Practicing consistently has given me the confidence to start trying to upload some of my performances. So I hope to see you guys there. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.